Hello, this is Andy McCann with CrossFit Garage in Woodstock and in Town Lake, and I wanted to go over with you why we do what we do. So, CrossFit, we're all doing it. We love it. We hate it. It's a great way to build fitness. Coach Greg Glassman came up with CrossFit a while ago, and he built it off of empirical evidence. Basically, empirical meaning we watched what we did, and it gave us what we wanted, and we kept doing it and refined it, and we got something great. So it all comes down to, if you read his article in the CrossFit Journal, which I'd recommend everyone getting into, great articles and great videos, but it all comes down to intensity. And later on, he defines some of his ways to capture intensity is through harnessing natural camaraderie, competition, and the fun of sport or games, and that yields an intensity that cannot be matched, right? So we're going for intensity, and there's some intensity we're going to talk about, and then there's this intensity right here that he is gaining through competition or through pushing yourself, all right? We're going to talk about those types of intensities and why we have you do what you do. So the first part is talk about the 10 fundamental elements of fitness, and if you've gone through our intro class, you've seen these, but we got strength, coordination, power, agility, balance, speed, flexibility, endurance, stamina, and accuracy. And we're going to talk about these things and how you get them via training or through practice. So when you look at this article here, it's a great little article through, who are these guys? CrossFitWad.com. What is CrossFit? They do a good job of explaining this training versus practice. And you may think, isn't that the same thing? Not really, when you really break it down. So what they're going to say here is that you can gain through training improvements in endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility. So you can train these things, right? You train strength. You don't just go, I'm going to practice lifting 450 pounds and just go practice lifting it. You don't do that. You gain the strength. You train the strength to get there, right? So training refers to, you can read this bit right here, training refers to performance, improved performance through measurable organic changes in the body. Now, here's practice. By contrast, improvements in coordination, agility, balance, accuracy come about through practice. These are neurological responses. You do it over and over and over to build up a neurological response so that you can do something, right? Practice refers to activities that improve performance through changes in the nervous system. So we try to adapt both these and gain power and speed, right? So it's an adaptation of both. All right, so let's give a demonstration of what practice can give you with training. So here's Kristen from our gym. She has trained this lift, the clean and jerk, over and over and over. Now she's going for a 160-pound PR. So did she train for this 160-pound PR? You betcha she did. She worked her butt off to get the strength to do this. She also practiced it. It's a skilled movement, and she practiced the movement and the skill to get there. But she trained for the PR. She practiced the movement, trained for the PR. Conversely, here's a guy who has practiced his entire life to become the best marksman in the world, or I guess with a bow. So he has shot this shot over and over and over, and you're going to watch this. He's actually going to hit the inside of that arrow, and he does it a lot, so it's not an accident. This guy practices it, but that right there is practice, right? So we got training on one side, practice on the other, and we do both. When you practice, you're gaining a skill set, that neurological response. When you're training, you're going for intensity. So we have intensity on two sides. If you're in the weightlifting world, so you look at this guy right here, the weightlifting world is going to describe intensity as the heavy lift, so a PR. So going back to, let's see if I can put this in, there you go. When Kristen hits this lift, come on. When she hits this lift, it is intense for her because it's the most she's lifted, right? So doing a deadlift, doing a bench press, doing some work, some strength lift builds an incredible amount of strength because of that intensity, that single lift. On the other side, we have our CrossFit WOD, which is also intense, but a different type of intensity. We're going to talk about that. So I'm going to describe to you this intensity versus the other side is not intense. So we could go for a jog, right? The problem with going for a jog is it takes this lower energy over a long term, and it increases your cardiovascular endurance, but it doesn't do much for strength. But we have found, conversely, that if you do the intense portions, you'll gain a endurance component. So like me, I do CrossFit, it's all I do for 7 years, and I go out and run a 30-hour race. And these last two races, we came in first in our division. So I'm getting a pretty good endurance component out of just doing intense workouts, right? I'm also getting muscle for it. Obviously, I'm not as big as someone like Eric or maybe Tim or even Kristen or Justin, right? But for what I've got, this is what I have, and I'm gaining muscular strength. So let's talk about that. So if you go out for a jog because, hey, you think I'm burning fat, and you don't actually practice gaining on the muscle side, then you can have an issue. So you have two types of options to burn energy. One is aerobic, which is oxidative. Basically, I breathe, therefore I can move. The other is anaerobic, or not oxygen, and you have this phosphagen and glycolytic cycles. And you've probably heard us talk about this in the past, maybe not. It's kind of a complex subject, but I'm going to break it down and make it pretty easy. These two right here are kind of like the fight or flight. This is I'm going out for a jog. So here's what they have found. And it's actually quite crazy that this is true and people haven't put it together for a very long time. I guess you could do it if you went out and looked at the average picture of a marathon winner versus, a picture of someone who does CrossFit, which we'll get to. But they have seen right here that anaerobic activity has a pronounced tendency to decrease your anaerobic capacity. So aerobic exercise, jogging, will actually decrease these two buckets, your phosphagen bucket and your glycolytic bucket. So the amount of energy that comes out of these two will decrease by going out for long runs. Conversely, where does it go from here? It says, athletes who train, we witness a decrease in muscle mass and strength and speed and power. So basically going here, you're losing all the things that we're trying to gain. Yet, if you go for an anaerobic conditioning, it promotes power, speed, muscle mass, strength, and fat loss. Moreover, the anaerobic fitness so this guy right here, anaerobic, will decrease your muscle mass, right? So it also goes on to say that the anaerobic will increase your endurance. So what am I trying to say here? If you go out for a jog, you're basically ruining yourself. You're not getting what you really want, which is I want to be toned, I want to be slimmer faster, and I want to be able to do more with my body. You're basically just going to be preparing yourself to go out for jogs. If you go into this intense arena, which is what CrossFit pushes, you'll be pushing in this phosphagen and glycolytic cycles, and you're going to be gaining muscle, power, speed, strength, and fat loss. So let's go back to some pictures. So there's a great article done. I think these guys did it, CrossFit South Bay, but it's called Skinny Fat. Let me go back to the top. Yep, Skinny Fat. So I think Jennifer Watch put us onto this before. So if you look here, they go through the same thing. So you know what? You say to yourself, I want to lose some weight. So what do? I just do more cardio. You'll lose more fat. The problem is you lose muscle because you're not doing anything anaerobic and you're not doing any strength training. So what happens is you end up looking like this. See that first? Oop, hey, look, got a big picture there. So you get this crazy look. Whereas if you actually train with CrossFit, this is let me see if I can pop that up. There you go. Here's one of the girls from CrossFit. Admittedly, not all of us are going to look like this, right? We have what we have. But if you're going for a jog, all you're doing is preparing yourself to go for a jog. You're going to lose muscle mass. And yes, you will lose weight, but you're losing muscle mass, right? So in CrossFit, we know that we may be dropping sizes, but we actually may stay around the same weight because we're getting all this muscle, right? Well, which one looks better? Guys, obviously, I know you don't want to look like either one of these. Well, actually, this girl right here probably looks better than some of us dudes, right? You get my point here. The reason why we train intensity is to give you this, okay? So let's go back to this. Look at this graph they show us right here. In this graph, the green line represents the oxidative state, so basically going out for a run. So you see it kicks in around the 2-minute mark and you can start breathing and run and you're all good. This phosphagen and glycolytic cycles, they burn out within 60 seconds. And our job is to grow those bins or those buckets with you guys so you can do more, right? So this is why Fran is so bad. It hits those 2 cycles, and if you got a sub 2-minute Fran, you may never even breathe hard, but you lay on the floor in a pile of your own goo and sweat because it was that bad. That's intense. Okay, let's move on here. If you don't believe those pictures, let's take Claire. And if you go to claireetcetera.blogspot.com, she just put up her 1-year update. And Claire is from our gym. And so let's take pictures that she had and check her out. So you see she's gained muscle and lost fat, and she's been doing CrossFit. Of course, she also does a lot of the nutrition with us, but this is what you can get. So well done, Claire. And moving on. So intensity for us is this power or work over time. So the work we did and the time it takes. Okay. So what is work? Work is nothing more than the this equation right here. So F, which is our weight in this case, or force. So our weight times distance. So it's a trick question, and those who've been in my intro class or any classes with me when I'm coaching, I always throw this one out. Okay. So we got this girl right here. She's doing jumping pull-ups. Trick question: which one's more work? Jumping pull-ups? That same girl doing regular swinging kipping pull-ups. Well, it's a trick question, right? So if you look, her arm is fully extended and her weight's the same. It's the same girl. And let me back up a teeny bit. Her arms are fully extended. Oh, I can't catch it in the right spot. Well, I didn't get it. But her arms are fully extended. It's the same girl. It's the same work. Her arms are whatever, 2 feet long. Her body is, I don't know, 130, whatever it is. And so her work is 260 foot-pounds of work. It's the same work. Which one's more intense? Power is that work divided by time. All right, so which one can you do more of, right? This one moves the work down to her legs a bit. This one pretty much stays all on her shoulders. Let's take a better example and see which one, shoulder press, or push jerk, which one of these is actually more powerful to this guy. So let's watch. He's doing, I think he's just doing 3 lifts. He might be doing 4. So when he gets to him, the frame stops. So look, push press stops. That means it is the most powerful because he did it faster. The push jerk was next, and last, of course, is the press. Same weight, same body, same distance moved, but this push press is the most powerful because he did more of it faster. So this is why we program to push you to do what we do. So if you look at today's programming, it is 1 rep deadlift. That is very intense. You're doing the most you can do in one single lift. That is awesome in terms of intensity, right? And then we got this workout right here. It's 21-15-9 power cleans and GHD sit-ups. Yeah, you know what? RX isn't the key here. It's about intensity. So if you can't do this as prescribed, that's okay. Change it and keep moving fast. So 135, that's about nearly half my max. So if let's say your max is 100 pounds, so maybe you do 50 pounds of a power clean. GHD sit-ups, I'm actually not so great at. I'll probably do half and half to keep up that power or that intensity. The thing is, we want you to lift heavy and a lot. That's intense because you'll build strength. And we want you to move here with intensity. In some cases, the WOD is actually training something a little bit different. Sometimes we go for a mind game, like, you know, do a mono movement, one thing for a long time, and see if you can keep moving. Kind of like a 10K jog. I mean, it has nothing to really do with intensity, but can you just keep yourself moving, right? So sometimes we train something different, but this is why we do what we do, is we are trying to get you from the first picture to the second picture, right? We're trying to build these phosphagen and glycolytic cycles so that you can do more with what you have. So in the end, you know, we're trying to right here. This far-reaching increase in work capacity supports our initial statements and aims of building a broad, general, and inclusive fitness program. We want you to be the best that you can be in whatever you're doing, whether it's like me and you want long-distance races, whether it's soccer, tennis, just lifting your kids to bed, whatever it is, CrossFit's going to get you there, and you look pretty damn good when you're done.